Hello, everyone, and welcome to Qtric's second annual Zero Emission Bus Technologies in Transit Operation Conference. My name is Magali Frenet, and I am one of the Membership Success Officers at Qtric. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to our sponsor keynote with ABB. I'm joining you today from Neuville in the province of Quebec, and in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Huron-Wendat Nation. Again, welcome to the sponsor keynote with ABB. And without further delay, I'd like to introduce you to Munib Durrani, Sales Manager e-Mobility for ABB Canada. Munib will be sharing great insights into ABB's electrification solution in his presentation. But let's get started with a short video.
Hello and good afternoon. So thank you, Magali, for the introduction. My name is Munib Durrani, and I'm the Sales Manager for e-Mobility for ABB Canada for our bus and transit segment. Very happy to be here, and thanks to Qtric for organizing the second annual Zero Emission Bus Conference. Very blessed to be here with some of our industry leaders, political leaders, community leaders, as well as transit leaders that are really going to need to work together and come to the table together so that we can really turn the corner on climate change. So the agenda for today will be basically to talk about Canada's climate plan and vision for green infrastructure, followed by the main theme of today, which is zero emission buses. And we're going to try to share a few different case studies that we've had deploying projects across North America. So if you're looking for my contact information, you can scan the QR code that's on your screen by pulling out your phone, opening the camera app and scanning the QR code, and you'll be able to get all my contact information in case you need to contact me. So let's begin. So what are Canada's climate plan and vision for green infrastructure? Well, we know that Canada has a goal to be net zero by 2050. And one of the ways that they're trying to do that is by reducing greenhouse gas emissions that come from transport, which is a pretty big chunk. It's 25%. And one of the ways they're going to address that is that new vehicles coming to the road after 2035 have to have zero emissions. And this is really important because, transport is a key contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And if we can drop those numbers down, then definitely we can reach those ambitious goals towards net zero by 2050. Not only does this mean good for the environment, but it's also great for the economy as it allows lots of steady jobs and growth within Canada. And how are we going to do this? Well, it really takes a village, and Qtric specifically is going to really help us navigate through these through these different funding and different areas that are, challenges that come with electrification. They're really going to help us navigate and maximize a return to a green infrastructure. So talking a little bit about ABB. So we've been in Canada doing business for over 100 years. We're a leading global technology company. We have 4 main business lines. We have robotics, industrial automation, motion, and electrification. And one thing we're really proud of is the fact that we have 32 offices coast to coast, close to 3,000 employees, 30% of which are female, and from 60 different nationalities. So very proud of the diversification we have within our team. And we're very, very happy to also be sponsors of Formula E, which is a sporting event that is coming to Canada this year for the first time. And it's really promoting green infrastructure and green technologies in general. And as ABB, not only are we using that platform to develop our technologies to get the latest and greatest chargers so that we can work with the OEMs to develop those, but we're also using that as a platform that we used at COP26 in Glasgow this year to be able to raise awareness to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So let's talk about the theme for today, which is electric buses. And we're lucky in Canada that we're home to some of the best transit systems that we have, where the transit authorities are operating over thousands of buses. And really, the goal is that if we start to electrify these buses, it's gonna be a key contributor to fight climate change. And a lot of people think that, it's not economically feasible, or there's a big myth saying that you can't have green with a good economy. But we've already deployed many projects within Canada and the United States to basically debunk that myth and prove that not only can you have green infrastructure, but you can do it in an economically feasible way as well. That being said, for electric buses, we know the main business case for them is the cost of fuel of electricity is a lot less than the cost of fuel of diesel. As well as the maintenance cost is a lot less over there. So definitely switching to this type of technology is feasible from an economical as well as a green space. And again, big number there, 5,000 electric buses in the next 5 years. Again, we're going to really have to use Qtrick to help us navigate through this space and really do the studies that are necessary within the transit authorities to get us there in that time frame. So when it comes to sustainability, that's a pretty big buzzword in the industry, and it's really important that we do start thinking about sustainability as a purpose. ABB has committed to electrifying its fleet of more than 10,000 vehicles by 2030. So this is going to, obviously affect the global greenhouse gases, and it's going to reduce the number of emissions that our company is producing. But essentially, the main products that this industry is making, which are electric buses or electric chargers, yes, throughout their lifetime, they are contributing and they are sustainable, but we have to start asking ourselves the real questions of where are we getting the copper, where are we getting these cables, the electronics, the batteries, is the entire life cycle from A to Z of these products sustainable? What happens at the end of the life where the charger 15 years later, are all the parts recyclable? And that's something that we pride ourselves in at ABB, is that we're looking at sustainability not only during the life of the operation of the equipment, but also before it gets built and after it's done its service. So talking about preserving resource and harmony, and this formula, I love to show it here on the screen because it shows that you need power and you need the infrastructure, which could be chargers or hydrogen fuel stations or vehicles, and all of that is going to result into lower greenhouse gas emissions. But people say that in some areas, like let's just say Alberta or some in the States, where the actual utility is using fossil fuels to build the electricity and to actually generate the electricity, and then they're putting it in EV, well, that isn't really reducing anything, but it's part of the formula. So even if those are areas where people think that it's not going to make a difference, well, every little thing that you do will make a difference, because eventually we will start seeing every piece of the puzzle start electrifying and start going green. So I'm just going to switch over to a few different case studies that we want to present here. So the first one being Brampton Transit, which is right here in our backyard. So this was a project where we have launched in summer of 2021. Basically, we had 8 buses, some from New Flyer, some from Nova Bus, with 4 chargers, 450 kilowatt overhead chargers, 3 of them being ABBs, 1 of them Siemens. And it was basically a turnkey project that the ABB took on, where we had to do A to Z. We really worked with the city to do construction, to basically do the civil work, the necessary installation, the procurement of all the equipment, building it and deploying it, commissioning A to Z. And it was a pretty big success. On average, these chargers are having approximately 5,000 charge sessions per quarter, which equates to around 50 per day. Essentially, some of the challenges that we ran into here, I'll get into that in a second, but one of the neat things here is that this is the first project that was fully interoperable in the world. What does that mean? It means that basically you have 2 different bus OEMs that can charge on any 2 different charger OEMs on the road, and you essentially see no disruption to service. So that was great to see that this pilot so far has been a success. And a minor thing which was a challenge in the beginning stages of this project, which is nice for everybody to note here, is that if you can look at the pantograph in the back, it's deployed and the elbow is actually sticking out towards the street. And this isn't standard. We normally have the elbow going towards the inside or towards where the pantograph pole is. And the reason we did this is to have extra space, because in Ontario, we had to follow the OADA, Ontario Accessibility and Disabilities Act, so that people with wheelchairs and other things can be able to go on and off the bus smoothly. So this is a minor challenge we ran into in the beginning, but we were able to overcome it by switching around the way that the pantograph deploys itself top to down, to give us the extra space to accommodate the extra things we needed. The next case study we're going to talk about is the city of St. Louis, which is in the United States. Here, there was a total of 18 New Flyer buses that were deployed, and they had a total of 23 chargers, 3 450 kilowatt overhead chargers that you can see on your screen here, as well as 20 150 kilowatt chargers with plug-in style cables with sequential charging on them. So one neat thing here was that the amount of electricity, amount of charging power that is available is over 4.3 megawatts. This is a very big amount of electricity, and the strategy that St. Louis took was that they wanted to have the ability to not only charge their buses overnight, but they also wanted to be flexible and have the opportunity to quickly top up their batteries or give it enough of a boost at the depot so that they can charge up very quickly with the pantographs. Another thing that this specific project deployed was smart charging features, which allow a lot of extra benefits to your operations, some being peak shaving. You can have remote start stops, ramp up, ramp down of the power to be able to really maximize and maximize your operations and really minimize your cost on your charging times. And then the last application, we can't forget about school buses. They're very, very important as part of the economy. There was a stat that someone shared with me recently saying that having 1 electric school bus on the road is the same as removing 5 cars from the road. So just think about that. 1,000 of these, 5,000 cars off the road, right? Like it's significant in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. And basically, what we can see here is that the charger for this type of bus is not a pantograph, right? Big surprise, but at the end of the day, it's a small little wall box, 24 kilowatts. And if we compare that with the 450 kilowatts that you saw on the previous 2 slides, that's only 5% of the power that it takes to charge the other vehicles. And the reason is because you really need to look at the use case, or the actual dwell time, we call it in the industry, of how long is your vehicle going to be parked for. And with that being said, the use case for a school bus is very simple. Picking up kids in the morning, it's paused, it's parked for the rest of the day, and then you basically can go back and charge it overnight. So when you have a lot of time, you necessarily don't need to have the biggest charger. In any charger that can charge your vehicle in a certain given amount of time will be able to do the job. That being said, I'm going to bring this keynote to a close by saying that we need to write the future and we need to do it together. So this year and the years before that, we've actually demonstrated a lot of different pilot projects within the industry, and they are working. Their buses are in service. Things are moving forward. So now it's the time to scale up so that we can really get to the next level that we want to get to. So thank you for your time, and I will open the floor up to questions and answers.
Sure, absolutely, Monib. Thank you so much for your presentation. Actually, we do have a few questions coming up. So the first one is, why is bus electrification an important aspect of the transition to net zero in Canada? And how does it contribute to this goal?
Yep, so very, very good question there, Magali. So bus electrification is very important because like what we mentioned on the first slide is transport is contributing to the most amount of, a significant amount of greenhouse gases in Canada. And to electrify these, we're really removing all of those from the puzzle. So that is going to contribute to the reducing greenhouse gas emissions in Canada.
Yeah, sure. And this brings me to a second question, a sub-question. What are advantages of choosing ABB as a partner for fleet electrification projects?
It's a very good question. So ABB is, we're more than just a charging manufacturing company. We have lots of different solutions that we tie into the electrical world, such as battery energy storage, smart charging, optimization of the different charge sessions we do, distribution equipment, anything that you need from upstream. We're really just a one-stop shop for all your electrification needs.
Excellent. Great to hear. And what is the future for bus electrification in Canadian urban cities, and how can it contribute to reducing CO2 emission?
Yeah, so the future is that more and more buses that we see on the road are going to be zero emission. And at the moment, there's a lot more battery electric versus hydrogen, but that is going to continue to grow in both aspects. And both of those are going to lead to lower emissions in the industry.
Yeah, great. And we just got another good question in. How did you overcome I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, the RFID tag issue with different charger manufacturers and buses as a standard been developed?
So it's a very good question. And for just everyone on the call, the RFID tagging is a very neat feature that we've added onto the chargers. And a lot of manufacturers are doing this because when you have multiple pantographs in close proximity, we don't necessarily, one bus can connect to a different charger that is close in proximity. So the RFID tag is actually used as a two-factor authentication of the second factor to make sure that bus is underneath the charger, so the one next to it doesn't deploy. So to answer Jim's question, the standard is still being developed. It hasn't been completed yet, but that is something that came up because we are a new industry and we are overcoming them together as an industry. So.
Okay. And are the school buses charger the J3068?
So they are not J3068, they are J1772. So that's just the Society of Automotive Engineers, the standard CCS1 charging plugs.
Okay. And any example of smart charging systems and software in use today?
So any examples? Yeah, we do have examples. Of St. Louis is one of them that we can definitely chat offline about, but to talk about the different smart charging features. We are going to start seeing that more and more in the industry as more and more people start electrifying and really scaling up, because that's when you can really get the most amount of benefit from smart charging. Okay,
great. Excellent. So another question here. What is the maximum charging capacity for a battery electric bus, like pantograph style?
So the maximum charging capacity is really, it depends on the type of vehicle that you have. And for example, most buses on the road today can go up to 380 to 400 kilowatts as an input that they can take, but our chargers are able to go to 450. But the reality is the bus is never going to ask for 450. We're really just going to feed it whatever it asks us for.
Okay. One other question just came up in Brampton. What other challenges were encountered? Could you elaborate a little more about the pilot?
Yeah, so I'll elaborate a little bit more about the pilot and then talk a little bit more about challenges. So essentially, those buses, they run a approximately 20 kilometer route. They are basically, they pick up the public, they do their route, they come back and they charge under those chargers for approximately 5 to 10 minutes, depending on which bus it is. If it's a New Flyer or Nova bus, there's a little bit different on the charge times because of the fact that the battery is a little bit different on each of those. So in approximately 10 minutes, you can get back up to full charge, and you can go back on the road and complete your second route, and so on and so forth all day. So some of the other challenges that we encountered, like I mentioned, the big one was the compliance to have the wheelchair accessibility in front of the pantograph. So that was one of the main ones. But essentially, the rest of them were due to the working with the utility to make sure we can bring everything in time. And really, Electra was great over there working with them. And some of the challenges were just with, I guess, the whole putting everything up and making the construction happen. So nothing significant, but we had great partners with us the whole time that were able to help and get these deployed.
Okay, and a few other questions just came up. Let me just read it out here. How effective are smart charging solution that comes with charging infrastructure versus investing in dedicated agnostic system specifically designed for monitoring and managing electric fleets?
It's a very good question. So every software company out there or that is involved in this space is able to work with any open charger. So ABB's chargers are on the OCPP or the Open Charge Point Protocol type format. So definitely you can have multiple. We are agnostic to any sort of software platform, but there are companies that have been doing it for a long time and they've optimized it. So we do have lots of different software companies that our chargers can talk to and work with. So really you have to get a demo from each and every single one of them to basically to look at how your operations are and feel them out and pick one that you like, and you can move forward with that one.
Yeah, okay. And ABB has a well-developed energy management system. Are you seeing this being used more cloud-based or local server installs?
It's a very good question. So we do have a well-developed energy management system, and it's being used and actually been deployed across Europe already for charging specifically. And right now they're all cloud-based, and I think that they're going to continue cloud-based. We work very closely with big cloud companies like Microsoft, so we want to make sure that things are reliable, and that's the way to do it.
Okay, great. And I think that brings me to one last question. So what's next for ABB?
So a lot of good things are happening at ABB. Definitely with optimizing your charging strategies, we need to reduce size. Definitely, the power electronics are getting more compact. You're able to push more electricity through a smaller footprint. But essentially, we want to be able to help people scale from one level to the next. And that's really what's next for ABB. So we're developing a lot of solutions around that.
Great. Thank you so much, Manib. So thank you to our audience for joining us today. Thank you, Manib, for sharing this great information. Thank you for all the people who asked awesome questions. So I would like to continue the dialogue. If you want, you can join our virtual networking taking place at 5:15 Eastern Time today. And just if you missed it, I'm thrilled to share that QTRIC has been named the National Planning Service for Infrastructure Canada Zero Emission Bus Transit Fund. So we're really excited to support transit agencies and municipalities plan their way to a zero emission transit fleet. And to learn more, you can contact us by email or visit our website. So thanks again, Manib, and thanks for your participation today. And we look forward to seeing you in the next session, Realities and Solution Ahead in Canadian Charging Solutions for Full Fleet Electrification with my colleague, Marie-Ève. Thank you, Manib.
Thank you.